Good morning.
Yeah. Great.
How's it going, man? Good, Rick. How are you doing? Good. Couldn't take it back out. All right, welcome everyone. 6:30, we're going to get started. Change the agenda around a little bit. After we do the Pledge of Allegiance, we're going to do introductions. Okay, so please join me in the pledge. Flag over here. The flag is right here. Forward. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and the state of one nation under God, indivisible, with Thank you. I'm John Belushi. I'm the chair of the Florida County Commissioners for about 3 more weeks, and then I have resigned. And so there'll be someone replacing me. So right here to my left,
Carl Sporleader, Walsenburg County Commissioner. Rick Jennings, Walsenburg City Council. Brett Edgar, Walsenburg City Council, Ward 2.
Veronica Mays, Walsenburg City Council, Ward 1.
Michelle Appel, Wilson Park and Recreation District.
Bruce Newman, Sheriff.
Julia Musgrave, Town of Movida Trustee.
Jenny Kyle, Town of Movida Trustee.
I'm Doug Burghardt, Mayor of Movida.
Gary Hazani, Mayor of Walsenburg.
Jim Katie, Movida Trustee.
Don Martinez, Walsenburg City Council.
Carlton Croft, Movida Trustee.
Tony Massington, Levita trustee.
Ashley Vandergriff, Movida Trustee.
Ronald Stafford, Walsenburg City Council.
Heather Hillis, Town Clerk to the Town of Movida.
Corey Youngberg, County Administrator. Roger Schinkenberg, Interim City Administrator in Walsenburg.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that there. Thanks.
Sorry.
Robert Hilbert, Buffalo County Sports Director, and Matt Patel.
Yeah, we're gonna just go down the road here.
Steve Mullen, retired land use planner, done hundreds of comprehensive plans. Maybe it just feels like that. But I'd like to be an advisor at some point. Robert Hilbert, Walsenburg resident, businessman, just concerned, curious citizen.
Carmen Lara, that's concerned citizen.
Nick Vigil, Walsenburg City Council.
Nick, we can make room up here for you if you want us to come up.
I'm fine. I can hear.
That's okay.
Dave Sheridan, I have steering committee.
Debbie Sporleader, citizen.
Thank you and welcome everyone. We're just going to have some discussions about different things and I don't know how, so I'll start this off, I guess, with the Innovative Housing Opportunity Grant. I think Levita, was that Levita wanted to talk about that? Heather or
Tim?
Tim?
Yeah, mostly just about the status of the joint comprehensive plan. I mean, we're working the housing issue, but I'm just trying to get back involved and find out where we're in the joint comprehensive plan. If we wants to do a comprehensive plan, make sure it matches up with the counties. I just don't know where you guys are at, really.
Charles, you want to take that?
Yeah, so right now the county is working on our comprehensive plan. We have received the draft from consultants. Planning Commission is working through at the meetings and workshops through edits and things like that. They've got a list of about 2 pages now that hopefully either this month or next we're gonna sit back to the consultants to finalize their edits and come back. The IHOP plan should be coming back to the steering committee later this month. So once I have some dates on that steering committee, I'll be emailing around and calling, hearing from the consultants, email on the steering committee and convene those folks.
I think that there was a 6-month delay on IHOP, so that's not true.
No, so what that is we asked Dole to extend it out for 6 months because part of the IHOP grant, we didn't realize this initially, is that they'd like each of our jurisdictions to pass one change that's recommended to us from the plan. Which I think it's very likely that both Walsenburg, Levita, and the county have already done. We want to extend some time just to make sure we have the time to get that done. It's not required of the city and the town, but I think it's a good thing for future governments.
Thank you.
Doug, just, circling back on the comprehensive plan, John, is, you know, we are and we will probably engage, a consultant for a comprehensive plan here shortly. We budgeted for it and Dole is helping us out some, but, we feel it probably critical, you know, to be able to have that comprehensive plan dovetail seamlessly in with the county comprehensive plan, in with Walsenburg's comprehensive plan, when Walsenburg, you know, gets that on board and so forth. So we have those common borders, you know, contemplated in both our comprehensive plans. How, you know, not that Levita is going to want to expand, or if Levita wants to expand, that's one thing. But to make sure that there's an understanding of what can, you know, be constructed and how it can be constructed on the edges of the Walsenburg or the county of Levita and so forth, so that we don't get crossways in utilities and provide, who's going to provide what services and so forth.
So have you done the RFP yet?
We had intended to engage the same contractors as the county,
Okay.
but we may go back to an RFP consideration because of the cost of the bid that came down. So we still have to sit down with them and see if there's some middle ground, or we have to go out to.
Yeah, and I mean, there's absolutely a ton of value to the background information they've already collected.
Exactly, and we know that we've supplied them with everything that we can think of from the town of Levita's end, so we can see the economy of scale, you know, from having that one provider, and also how we can more keep both comprehensive plans using the same language, so there's not confusion. You know, you get 3 or 4 plans and everybody uses a different word for the same thing, and pretty soon you're developing confusion, you're developing, you know, a lot of different roadblocks that are not necessary. So we prefer to go with SC Group. We just have to sit down. We just got their new numbers within the past couple of weeks. And so we got to sit down with them and see where we can be with them. And then, you know, I think sit down, you know, face to face with the county and look at those, maybe particular, not the whole comprehensive plans, you know, I mean, we understand that your comprehensive plan is going to be different in perhaps scope or the broadness of it or so forth from the town of Levita. But where they do intersect, you know, we need to just sit down and have that conversation with the county and say, you know, how are we going to use the same language, the same words to get across the same idea, whether they're coming to the county and talk about what's next to the town of Levita, or they come to the town of Levita and talk about what's next.
Right.
Yeah, one of the most important things really, as far as hooking things up, is making sure that the joint comprehensive plan has a process in there for decision making and consensus on what stuff.
And the process is a match.
Yeah.
And the process matches the cities and the towns.
Exactly. This is right. I think that's, unless somebody else on our board has comments on that, I think that is what all we want to say about that subject today.
Okay. So this is the city county town meeting. I'm gonna allow this, but know that the discussion is primarily gonna be the elected officials.
So we're just listening.
For the most part, yeah, but if you have something to.
I concur that a common consultant would be an advantage, but the intensity of public engagement in the town's gotta be 20 or 40 times more than the county engagement. So I don't know if you have some, what I hate to see is an engineering firm that just talks about sewer and water and future growth, as opposed to the vision for the future that is individual for each town, and then the county consolidates all of that, okay?
Okay,
Very few,
okay, thank you.
okay.
Thanks. Is there one thing else on the comp plan or the IHOP grant from anyone? Gary?
We're putting out an RFP. We're gonna get it approved next meeting, I believe. Yeah, but it's on the agenda.
Yes. Yeah, we're gonna finally put up RFP. They did get a grant for DOLA, $200,000 grant to get it done. But I can agree, it's great, just pull it in different directions. You gotta right in the same direction.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So I understand that SE Group is kind of a little bit behind anyway, are they not? So maybe we'll be able to finish up some of these plans within at least an acceptable time frame.
In other words, I have plans to go to the committee to review later this month. Our comp plan is in review stage, so we clean up. So we're probably ready to adopt the comp plan this fall, I imagine. And that's a public process and will include circulating to the city and the town once it's ready for the showtime.
Well, I imagine we'll have a decision from the town within 30 days on our consultant. So, you know, that probably be, I'm still inside with most of it also. So that looks like, that's great. Look forward. Just a little, and I don't know if this is under the IHOP section or not, but, and you may know, paper, so forth, but Alameda has signed a letter of understanding with economic development to provide block 60 with Alameda for not low income, but I call it affordable housing, workforce housing within the town of Levita. And so we're hoping that by signing that letter, that enables economic development to go forward, the necessary grants and so forth to at least study the situation and see if it's a viable alternative within the town. If that will enable them to build 12 houses on that block. So I think that two things that that housing requirement the state of Colorado has for all of our entities, and also provides some acceptable and affordable housing to, you know, workers that in the Washington County live in our end of the valley but can't afford stuff because of their wages don't aren't comparatively compatible with the cost of housing, right?
Yeah, that's unfortunate throughout the county that the wages have not kept up with the cost of living.
I know.
Quick.
Very quickly on the comp plan, a couple of years ago, the comp plan, the Walsenburg comp plan and the strategic plan were combined together. So that's kind of prepared. So maybe that can be kind of used as sort of a little guide or something. Or
Thank you. That's notes for Walsenburg. Parks and Recreation. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Was that a good, oh, yeah.
I mean, this is a gigantic conversation, right? I mean, there's so many opportunities for Parks and Recreation. There's some opinions out there that like mine that I don't think that the county should own the Charles Mountain Park. That's just my opinion. That's not the opinion of the county commissioners. There's been discussion about dissolving the Parks and Recreation District itself, creating one that's countywide and putting in the Wild Waters and the Guitar Mountain Park and Park and Gardner and whatever else happens. But so, what's my Parks and
Okay,
Rec lead this?
so the Orphan Parks and Recreation District, for a lot of you who are not actually living here at the time,
Could you speak up?
just a quick background, as a fan, it's almost like the training. So the Park and Recreation Special District was created 20 years ago. And that original plan by Dave Davis and with other individuals, and that original plan at the time mainly focused on the city of Wellsburg and the town of Levita because it was centered around youth recreational activities. And so they started a special district, but the mill levy did not pass. And so it became an unfunded countywide, well, what developed into a countywide program. The Park and Recreation Special District is a 6-member elected board, 1 appointed, sits as a member at large, 2 members from each commissioner district, and our terms stagger each other so that we maintain the institution. We just finished realigning our governing documents to align with the state statutes that continually change. You all are part of that process as well. And so the Park and Recreation District has now found itself in a position where we've done that realignment, where we want to start working with each of the individual communities to ensure that you have all the necessary tools and the necessary funding that we can potentially help and collaborate with you on in order to maintain your parks, and then also begin the developing phase of an comprehensive county-wide youth and kid recreation programs. We have a lot of dreams. We're big vision, global thinkers on our board right now. And so hopefully out of this process, we will begin to develop those relationships with you all so that we can improve our park system in Walsenburg specifically, given that it is the county seat. It does have the most park systems in place already that unfortunately are suffering. And so because of all of the downturns that we all currently face. So that's where we're at. We are the ones who receive the lion's share of the lottery dollars. And so we always welcome developing partnerships and finding out what you need and how it is that we can help. I think that's it.
Okay.
If I can explain the funding a little bit, it was a countywide vote for the rec district. They voted yes. Countywide vote, they voted no on the mill levy. So that's
Correct.
rec district was formed. But by voting to form a rec district, automatically Walsenburg gave up half their lotto money, Levita gave up half their lotto money, and the county gave up half their lotto money. And that went into the recreation district.
Right.
So that's how the recreation district is formed now. And the remainder half that, and a lot of money, which was big at the time, because it was before Powerball and everything else,
Right.
used to generate, an acceptable amount of thousands of dollars for each entity. And that's down to just $2,500 or something now for Levita, of which the other $2,500 go to the rec district. Walsenburg probably gets 3 times that, something like that. I don't
Based
know.
on population.
Yeah, and the county gets another appropriation. So, so what happened was, I'll just speak my opinion is, it went into the rec district, but the rec district didn't have any forward-looking plans at the time. And so those plans that Wellsburg had, Levita had, that the county had, the monies that were available for them were cut in half, just sliced in half automatically. So you couldn't keep up with your parks and so forth, and there wasn't any backfilling to come from any other agency to do that. So we're now in this position where, Wellsburg has parks that are, either neglected or inoperable, for the water park inoperable. Will 7 or 15,000 a year cover that, if you got your money back?
No.
Probably not, no. But,
Not even chemicals.
yeah, but, so what has happened is lottery funds have come down, costs have outpaced it. We're splitting the baby right now.
Yep.
And nobody can, you don't even have a small percentage of the money you used to get to do any of these things, and we continue to be cost escalating.
So in 2004, when that ballot issue was passed, the population in the county was about 8,800, and that included 750 people at the prison. So the prison population went away, which cut our lottery. Plus we had 2008, we had a downturn, 2011 we had a downturn. So we right now are about 7,200 population trying to climb back up to it. So we've lost money, lost the population, and by the split from the Parks and Rec district.
And by nobody playing Colorado lottery anymore. Because we don't get anything from Powerball or any of those other games. It's only from the state hosted games. So it's a tough situation, huh? You've got people that continually want and expect more amenities, because they look at look at what Colorado Springs did just yesterday by approving the land use plan, just west of Colorado Springs up there, and they're going to build miles and miles of trails and overlooks and everything else, and hire at least 5 people to make sure that the wildlife isn't impacted. We can't hire one person here to impact wildlife. So people expect these amenities because, and that's not all, I always say that's all that the governments can offer anymore is amenities to draw people. In the old days, the amenity was the fort to protect you from attack. Now you offer, a nice way of living. And we have the location. We just don't have the money to capitalize on those.
Make all the improvements that people want.
Yeah, exactly. So have you got any recommendations at this time, Michelle? Have you made up a priority list of how you would want to go about improving locations or?
One of the things that we actually want to do, because you all are talking about this comprehensive plan, is we want to make sure that within that portion of the comprehensive plan, it includes asking the questions of people what it is they expect of their current park systems and what it is that they would like to see as improvements to their park systems, etc. Because previous boards of the Park and Recreation District never have, so the current comprehensive plan that we have that we're supposed to be working under is 20 years old. And all the boards that followed that previous board never updated it. And so once,
What comprehensive, are you talking about the service plan?
yeah, the service plan.
So,
That service plan is 20 years old.
right, and that service plan was written by David Cockrell
Right,
with help from Dave Davis.
right.
But that was so far off that initially it showed 5 county commissioner districts. There's
Yeah.
never been 5 county commissioner
No.
districts in North County.
No. And so that service plan, that comprehensive service plan needs to be updated. And that is one of the things that we planned on working on. But once we heard about the comprehensive plans from not only the county, but each of the individual cities, we didn't see a point setting out on our own massive survey, which just confuses the entire populace. even further, we felt that it was important to ensure that we were part of the process so that the questions that needed to be asked in reference to our entire park systems were asked. I do know that when, under, and I've not been able to find the paperwork on that yet, but I do believe that when, there were particular staff members that were part of the Park and Recreation, district, when there was the Washington Underground, that they did do a comprehensive plan or look at the Walsenburg Park systems because they were looking at cycling. And so I haven't been able to locate that documentation yet, even though that's a little old. It at least would give us a launching point from, okay, this is where they were at then, or this is where they're at now, and where is the largest population center surrounding that park, in reference to where should we start. And then working with the city, on developing an IGA and making sure that we share appropriate dollars and or see. We're actually looking at hiring a grant writer so that we can seek specific monies in reference to our parks and recreation systems. And so that's where we're at right now.
Is there consideration for stuff beyond Warrenville County? I mean, when we have that southern loop bike trail system, you know, there's plans to go through
Right.
part of Warrenville County into Los Animas and back to Rapids.
Right.
You know, that's a big draw for recreation.
Right.
You know, it just seems to me that, you know, there are maybe opportunities just beyond the borders of Warrenville County to bring money in to help facilitate some things within Warrenville County. Not sure.
I have, Commissioner Andy Evans on the line that would like to speak. Can you hear me, Erica?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
Wonderful. I think Doug hit the nail on the head, and it's that we have a hard time funding these positions alone. And so I would like to open up the floor for conversations regarding what it would look like if we did a city, town, county IGA where we pulled the funds that are already allocated towards parks and we had a Parks and Rec director, possibly a second position depending on what those funds look like. And then, as you know, with our 3 governmental agencies, we can take care of those parks, hopefully better than they're currently being taken care of, but also have a stronger application for things like GOCO. I know GOCO previously, GOCO only wanted to allow funding for outdoor projects, but recently they allowed a field house up north, so an enclosed field house. And so I'd love to have all 3 of our entities working together, pulling those funds into one account, having a Parks and Rec director, and then applying for big things such as will they enclose the water park in Walsenburg so we can have a field house, which I believe affects all of the communities. If we keep Guitar Mountain Park, we could apply for grants there. Also, we can throw the Thorn Ranch into the mix. We have some awesome trails with La Vida Trails, and they've expanded to other parts of the county. So just seeing what we can do to collaborate to make a better impact on the whole community instead of just struggling individually.
I agree. One thing I'd like to add is, the water park, Walsenburg Water Park was built with GOCO funds, and until we get that back in operation, GOCO's not gonna look at this county very favorably to get more money to, so I think we need to get that.
Absolutely. And I think that would be a good pool to say, you know, when we did apply for a GOCO grant at the Guitar Mountain Park, and they did say that the only GOCO project that has floundered is the water park in Walsenburg. So I'm hopeful if we go after them and say, you know, we don't want to be the only project that hasn't been successful, and we could use your assistance in getting this up and running.
I'd love to see that, yes. And when it was running, the last time it ran, it cost the city about 75 grand a year to keep it open.
And
Keep
I
that in
will,
mind.
yeah, well, And I will say that through my own conversations with Chris Avey at GoCo, we're gonna have a lot stronger, more stronger opportunities if we are a collective group.
I'd be in
And,
favor of
and,
that,
and
yes.
that it's really tight because we could be potentially looking at funding like what they put into Fisher's Peak and Kendall. If we are a collective group versus each of us individually coming versus the collective whole with as part of the comprehensive plans that hopefully everybody collaborates on and making a whole, that then we can set out after the big dollars to do the big projects.
It would seem to me like each entity has to identify the assets that could be possibly involved in it prior. And then look at what asset allocation would be theoretically do that, you know, I mean, I, for one, you know, lived here all my life, I don't know what the county has in terms of what they would like to put into it. Mount Park, you know, because that's the big.
Mountain Park, I think the Fiesta Park and the Thorn Ranch are the three big properties that the county has that, would be up for discussion, I believe.
And then, well, whatever, well, you know, the water park, the old handball court,
Yeah, we got.
Fiesta Park, you know. If you want Fiesta Park, we do. Thank you. Okay.
We
And
also
then-
have Rio Cucharas Hotel.
And we have the fairgrounds in Levita, as well, we could go into the discussion.
Yeah. And then, you know, obviously we would put in what we have, we have, you know, I mean, all we have is our trails and our park, our railroad park at this time. We have couple small pocket parks that are also associated with developments and so forth under that 6% rule. But, you know, but I think what we need to sit down and really look at that, and just say, here's what the county has, here's what Wellspring has, here's what Levita has. Combined, what's it gonna take to manage all these, asset breakdown and management breakdown, O&M.
So,
And then what kind of money we have.
so what I'm hearing is that there's interest from Walsenburg, Levita, and the county. So let's identify the next step. Just the next step, not go too far out there, but do we identify assets? Do we look at what countywide Parks and Rec district should be looking at? What's our next step?
Draft an IGA, I would think, right? Draft an IGA.
Well, before even an IGA, I think we need to identify, you know, the big graph. What Wellsburg would like to have as part of this, you know, what the county would like to have. You know, in terms of not the assets, but under the umbrella of the O&M. And then what Levita has. Look at that as the big picture. This is what we've got to cope with. Then what assets do we have to manage these? That's step two, in my estimation. And then I guess, I think it's not necessary to go back to the drawing board. We have a countywide recreation district that is statutorily recognized.
So then the potential would be for the Parks and Rec district to rewrite the service plan with input from the city, county, and town as to what the needs are. There's not only just the facilities, but we really, really need adult recreation and youth recreation included in that plan.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I don't, you know, I know that that is going to be just a daunting task in itself. It's not a, you know, that could be several months or even longer to try to get everybody's indications. You know, the whole thing about it is anything you write down a month from then everybody's going to say, we forgot to throw this in there. You know, we forgot to do this. And so there's going to be kind of
And truthfully,
a living plan. It's, you know, and it's got to be designed as a kind of a living plan.
yeah. And I, honestly speaking, I'm looking at it, thinking, we're looking at it, taking here to the end of the year.
That's probably.
Because You know, because if you're looking for really wanting to gather our youth voice, gather the voices of other members, all the members of the community. Well, of course, now in summer, everybody's scattered, but it also gives us an opportunity, towards the end of the summer to at least gather some visitor information about what it is that they see, how do they utilize our systems right now. I think we did part of that through the RTAP process, our, rural technical assistance program process that we just finished up with the Cedar Boulder master students. And so we know some of what it is that we're looking at and how our systems are going to be used. But we want to make sure that we gather all those little voices who are the future of our communities, but who currently use our park systems. Because some of the stuff I'm hearing from those little voices is not good.
So I was just gonna suggest that, would it make sense for a representative from each of the entities to meet with the Parks and Rec special districts? I mean, obviously, we can't get together like this as a group all the time. I mean, but just if, you know, someone from Town of Levita, someone from the city of Walsenburg, and, you know, someone from the county meets with Parks and Rec throughout the year, to kind of be that spokesperson that they can go back to their board and share what, you know, so that they're taking all those ideas to you and you're hearing it as a collective from each entity.
Yeah, and our meetings are open and they're published in the public and everybody's always welcome to attend. We have one coming up on the 17th.
And you said you already have representatives from each of the.
Correct. We have 2 representatives from each of the commissioner districts. So there's 2 from the Levita Kachara district, Erica's district. There are 2 members from the Walsenburg district, and there are 2 members from out towards the Gardner County area.
I'm saying a specific council person, a commissioner,
Well, I was saying, if we need to come upon us, like it's the town board of the meeting, see how those people are and bring them
or
in.
that.
Yeah, we actually, and that's where I was gonna go back. We actually need to, the 2 representatives, one of the 2 representatives I foresee, should report back to you on a quarterly basis. Can't be a monthly thing, because we all know that's not realistic.
Right.
But it is realistic to say, you know what, on a quarterly basis, whether it's me or the other representative from our area, from the Levita Kachara area, comes to the town board and we're an agenda item, we just report to you where we're at, what it is that we're doing, et cetera, what items we foresee coming up that we can collaborate on. Once we get into that future and pass that service plan so that we can report back on that service plan and how
Okay,
that.
we have a long agenda. I'm gonna try to wrap this up.
Yep.
So just 1 second, John. In terms of Mr. Madison, that he's been dealing with here to go, territory, the staff review. Do you think there's a possibility of DOLA money helping to facilitate this? You've been dealing with that a lot.
I think, I mean, the thing that DOLA likes to kind of direct our way is all of that mineral funding, that EIAF funding.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty broad remit. They're more, that kind of funding is generally more kind of infrastructure, like things based. So if there was something, again, kind of infrastructure, I think that would be attractive because DOLA likes to see its, you know, get the greatest, you know, amount of benefit for its dollar. And if it's such a cooperation, you know, at a county-wide level and has buy-in from all of these entities, that would probably be attractive. And then some of that more discretionary funding that they have. It's interesting because my concept of DOLA is more funding entities to do either like infrastructure work or to do planning work. But funding something that maybe is more in the GOCO bailiwick, you know what I'm saying? Is that it's a different sort of thing than I'm familiar with their funding, but that discretionary funding they have, I mean, it's always worth talking to our reps, our area managers for that.
Yeah, and I can talk to Leslie Jones, because I actually think that this is in the planning category.
I agree. I think the $25,000 planning grant would be easy on this one. We're going off. If there's 4 entities going in.
I'm not sure if you're aware, but Levita has a committee that's been working on the park and
I am.
the playground. So whoever the county reps are, should come talk to us.
So what I'd like to suggest as the next step would be for the town of Levita, the city of Walsenburg, and the county at their next regular session, appoint 2 people to meet with the Parks and Rec District as representatives with the specific goal of identifying the assets so that you can build an inventory of what's available, and then we can look at what do we want to do with it. Is that fair enough approach? Sure. And then we can get the next step going after that. Anything else on that?
Just how do we find out who is on this board? Like, how do we find out who's in our?
Well, we have a webpage.
Thank you.
And it needs to be updated with the county. We just lost Ken Sadak, who was on our board, so we're seeking a replacement for him. And I have some phone calls out because we can appoint that person ourselves. Or request someone to write us a letter of intent and then fill it, much like you all can within your town governments. And so I've got my feelers out right now for that individual, but it's Connor Orr and Josie Boynton. And then also Chris Silks as well, and Kayla Andrietta, and then Carrie Powers is our at-large member.
Okay, anything else on that? You had one question or a quick comment?
Quick comment, 3 things on Nick Fest. Seeing meetings like this and things like this kind of lose momentum. So here we are at the beginning of summer having a meeting. Maybe suggest having it again at the end of summer and beginning of fall. See where the fall looks on. 2, somebody said we need to ask tourists who are coming through what questions do we know? What do you guys do? What do you want to see? What do you? If the train depot in town in Walsenburg could ever be open as a visitor center,
Yeah.
that would be an awesome thing. Then there could be flyers. This is what's going on. This is what activities are happening. They can take literature with them and say, and 2018, when I landed here, somehow the master plan for the bike trails throughout the county and area wound up in my hands for a year. And that was pretty useless. But, I did turn them back over, and I'm trying to remember who I turned them back over to. But if we could get at least 1 paved trail from Walsenburg to this state park and then from the state park out to Levita, and people driving along 160, I think would be wonderful to see people biking and doing activities happen. It's visible. So the trails will disappear into the background, which are great, but
Okay,
I just know, that's it.
yes. I'm sorry. Stacy? Online?
Yes.
Okay, Stacy, identify yourself and you have the floor.
Stacy Decker here, Walsenburg. I'm the tiny house guy. I just did the mountain bike hike route out at Lathrop. I think we need to also include the state and National Forest Service because they have a lot of trails, a lot of hiking trails that are identified that are not just hiking, but are also mountain biking. And it's growing. I mean, we're also working with Los Animas for the mountain biking trail. I know that's coming up here pretty soon down in Fisher's Peak State Park. We have an opportunity to bring people into the area when all the trails up north are packed. I swear I've got friends that are up north that they can't get on mountain bike trails without hitting, full parking lots, etc. And I'm out there riding Lathrop this past weekend and nobody was there. It was just me. It was totally awesome for me. Even if I saw 1 or 2 people on trail, it'd be great, right? To share more of what we have out here that reminds me of Colorado 30 and 40 years ago when I got here. So I think if we also involve in these conversations the state park departments where you're sitting right now at Lathrop, and then also the National Forest Service, because there's a lot of opportunities to maybe get their dollars, their assistance, their insights as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We're gonna move on to building inspection. Who wants this one?
So we're struggling with this right now in Walsenburg, and I know the county has a building inspection program. Simple question. is it possible to share the service?
The simple answer, absolutely.
Perfect. We'll have more discussion later.
Okay, and I don't know, I suspect Levita's not interested in this conversation again.
Yeah.
I figured.
So
But we would be interested in whatever money you give to Wellsburg for that, you share with them. That'd be interesting. Yeah. We've got our own company, we've got their own pay.
Nick, go.
With your
County,
funds.
the county building inspector certified.
They are now, I believe, correct?
Almost. You can test for residential this year.
Couple.
commercial and residential?
Not commercial,
Just
so we still
residential.
hire out through Colorado Code Council for commercial. So yes, we've been working on getting them certified since they started.
Would you say that was, that's doing your commercial?
Colorado Code Council.
Changed the name to Safe Note recently.
What?
Safe Note.
Okay. Animal control. Okay, next, public safety. Animal control.
Same issue, same question. Are you open to cooperating on that? Because what's happening is, again, part of this is rumored, but there are animals that are dropped off in Walsenburg because Walsenburg has an animal control officer. And, beyond that, also the common coroner has a problem when there's a death and there's animals, what do they do with them? So there's a number of problems associated with animal control, and so is it possible to have the same conversation about animal control as we do about building inspection?
Short answer, no. From my perspective, and again, this, I'm not speaking for the other two commissioners, I'm speaking for myself. I believe that the county should provide the services that it's good at providing and not try to be everything to everybody. This is a rural area. We have the code of the West. Animals, people drop animals off, I'm sure, in the county all the time. We do not have the capacity to take on animal control. That's, I mean, it would be wonderful to do that, but at this point, it's a luxury, not a necessity. And that's my perspective. I don't know if Erica or Carl have a different perspective.
I do have some thoughts on that. I believe that the city of Walsenburg has been providing that service for the county for many, many years. I think that if we were able to co-op on things like Park and Rec and the building inspection, maybe we can find funds to assist the city of Walsenburg with that. I don't know that we have a capacity as a county to take that on, but I do feel like we owe it to the city of Walsenburg to review it and see if we can't allocate some funds towards that.
What about all the dogs we pick up, Erica? We put in our dog pound. We have an officer. Which
Sure.
costs us $10,000 a year to maintain our dog pound. We could take some of your money.
Yeah, I think we should look at co-oping, you know, a good majority of the things on the agenda.
It's just good to be a bigger person. I mean, Patco has more and more rules and it's harder and harder to pass.
Well, I know, requirements. We had to put in air conditioners for the only building in the Vita that's got an air conditioner. Got air conditioner, heaters, their own dishwasher, because we can't wash the bowls for the dogs. We have to put them in a dishwasher.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yes, I mean, literally, we spend thousands on this.
Costs money.
It costs money. It's a lot of money.
Does anybody know, and I don't want to get too far off subject, how or why Trinidad failed with their animal organization?
They let volunteer group take it over. And then the city had to take it back.
And then didn't maintain control of
And they
volunteer?
didn't pass their inspections. Exactly what it was, I don't know.
Same thing happened with Pueblo. Pueblo, handed it off to a quasi volunteer group, and within a year later, they had to take it back because there's no money in it.
Yeah. no,
You know, I
there's
mean,
no
that's
money.
just, it's legal money for these things. And, you know, luckily, municipalities have the ability to absorb some of that, you know, from other, or counties or whatever.
It's a need.
Yeah, it's a
That
need.
can happen.
But when you get a volunteer group that's in there running on the shoestring budget, just can't do it anymore. And so they neglect one or two items and
Yeah, and they tend to do too much. They have this extra passion, or compassion for this, and they get some trouble. That's what's happening in most places. It's hard enough to do it, just bare bones trying to beat the dogs that are loose in town is all we really want to do. But you're stuck with all these other regulations, so. Erica, we appreciate your help, by the way.
Or at least looking for the
I know that Carl Young made some contacts as well, to Colorado Springs, just to see what that looks like for adoption. You know, we're going to be limited to what we can provide here, but maybe we can get some guidance on where we can send the next step once the dog is found or the animal is found to not have an owner. So I know Carl's been looking into that as well.
Yeah.
Thanks, Erica.
You got it, Carl.
So,
If you could attract the veterinarian too, would help a bunch.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay.
Oh, I was touting how great we are down here when I was up at CSU recently. So it was like, come on, clean air, clean water, you have great riding trails, hiking trails, biking trails. Lots of people who want to help.
Sorry, Carl, go ahead.
I did talk to Franklin Beach Humane Society. They run Pueblo, Jefferson, El Paso counties, animal control. They said that they really can't expand down here, because of their contract with their employees. The pay differential would be too great and just wouldn't pay for itself. They did recommend a nonprofit operating a shelter as the way to go with support from municipalities. He said that's what is happening in Alamosa. The guy who I spoke to, their current CEO, was with Dumb Friendly, they were planning that facility. He wasn't there when they opened it, unfortunately. So no, all the details, we know that part of the plan was for Alamosa County, Alamosa City to provide a good deal of funding for that facility. And they also have a vet that was renting space too.
So all we need is money.
That's all.
Dang it, everybody go out and play power.
You don't get any of that.
Here we have Stacy online one more time. Stacy, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. So the vet services, Mr. Mayor, yeah, that's the thing that is definitely needed in this area, but it's not just, you know, dogs and cats, it's also large animal. I think if there was a county-wide effort to bring in large animal and normal vet services for cats and dogs, so people don't have to go all the way down to Raton or all the way to Pueblo, I think a joint effort would be nice in that area as well. I think a lot of ranchers and residents would support something like that. Thank you.
And I do think when I was up at CSU, I think that they've got some programming going, much like for the hospitals, that if you can attract a local veterinarian or new local vet to come, they can dissipate part of their, because I'm telling you, these people who are coming out of vet school are the same as doctors coming out with hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. So the state was looking at offering the same type of program. If you went to a rural area and committed to a rural area to be a veterinarian in that rural area, you could have part of your educational funding forgiven. And so I think it's worthwhile for us, any of us, to collaboratively start making the phone calls to the governor's office and CSU, asking about that programming and how it is that we can assist in that programming. Because we could definitely crowdsource fund from our local communities and all of us who have pets to get a facility open, so that we would have a local place, especially in case of emergency, to take our pets. Anyway,
Okay,
that's all I know about that.
I'll just say I disagree, but we'll leave it there. Anything else on animal control? Hey, Monica, remember, this is for elected officials. I'm gonna give you the floor one time for a quick comment.
Monica, you're on mute.
Okay, sorry. So the Farm Bureau is already working on that. And if some of you guys would show up at the coalition or at HCED or some of the other community meetings, you would know the Farm Bureau is working on that. That's all I wanted to say. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Monica. Public safety. Who's this?
Yes.
This is. This is Bruce. What, you want to introduce this?
Sure.
Please.
So, everyone knows that public safety is a big issue across the whole county. County provides law enforcement services for the city of Walsenburg. And we have an issue where I think the level of service that all of us want, none of us can afford. The town has Harold, who does an excellent job, and then there's always that one extra vacancy that has been really rough to fill. I think our question is, how can we figure out a way to get this, either to get the sheriff's office what they need in order to operate and cover the entire county, or a way we can figure out a way to provide a lot of mutual aid and support to each other. Part of, I guess, my push is that I sort of believe the city should have its own law enforcement. I think a good city police department would be a benefit to the entire county. That said, the sheriff is the master here on that topic and about the how often it goes in the county. So I'll go to him about his point of view.
No, I think it's time for the city to start their own police department again. They had their issues. We got past that part of it. I think it's time they have their own police department again.
So everybody chipping in money or what?
Got some cars to design.
Good stuff.
Yeah, that's another one, John. It's just a tough situation. We've been advertising for a police officer, for a deputy marshal for a couple of years. Every time we go back to the budget, we raise the starting salary by another 5,000. I think we're 58,000 now advertising for. And, I mean, they're not we don't even get a chance. Mr. Katie is now going to be our liaison for our police department. He has military ties. He's going to try to see if he can work that military angle that none of the rest of us had. And try to see if there is individuals coming out of the military that are interested in this type of work. And hopefully we'll get at least some type of interest, but none of us are sure. And if you have any light to lay any enlightenment for us, I would appreciate it, because we're not sure why we just can't even get we've advertised on all the known sites, and it just the interest isn't coming. And obviously, there's always a limit of what you can pay somebody.
So let me throw this out just as a discussion topic. If we had, and Bruce, jump in if I screw this up. If we had space for a sheriff's deputy in Levita, we could, that shortens our response time to Guichara and up Levita fast at like 15 to 20 minutes. And we could also back up Levita at the same time. Is that a feasible situation?
Having an office up there would help just for people to meet with us. I mean, we talked about that all the time, a few years ago, and it just never came to fruition. I think it's a great thing to open up again, because I know we've already got a cooperative operating agreement with you guys, I know, Harold does a lot of processing for you guys, and it's just sort of trying to get people that are interested in it. We've offered Chair and Gardner both. If you want to be a deputy, we'll put you through the school, we'll train you the whole 9 yards, and we still can't get anybody interested. My brother-in-law is a city councilman up in Aurora, and I can't remember how many hundreds of officers showed up there, and they paid really good. But people just don't want to be loose anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I heard, I don't know if it's true, but State Patrol is now offering $100,000 bonus if you're finishing and complete 2 years of service with the state. Wow. Yeah, that's how critical this is.
Well, they're offering cadets, like, even if you're not, like, that you're 21 by the time you get certified, like.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so we'd love to sit down with you and, discuss. And we've talked about, we're not asking to have you station somebody out there without recompense. We'll do what we can and share, funding and so forth. We know that it's across the board. And it's not a enjoyable situation to be in. I know it's not enjoyable for you. It's not enjoyable for the county commissioners, for us as a board. We know that everything has a shelf life on it, including our marshal, but it's just the way his life is. And so we've got to figure out something soon.
Erica, go ahead online. Erica? You have
Can you hear me
something?
okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think we're finding ourselves in a similar situation where the pool is not great. I don't see the pool increasing for people to want to join law enforcement, especially in small communities. I know the county has given back up to La Vida for some time now, and I believe we cover on Sundays and Mondays in Harold's absence. So my thought process again would be, is this something we can collaborate with, where that allocated 50,000 or 58,000 can go into the sheriff pool? You can have a La Vida deputy, hopefully Harold or someone to replace him, who could report back to the town, and then maybe even have a liaison in Walsenburg that could report back to the city, but share the resources, share the vehicles, share what we already have in the county. I know in an ideal world, each entity would have their own departments, but we're struggling with that. So what can we do now to give a little support to the county who's covering these areas, but also have those liaisons so the communication is there and it doesn't all fall on Bruce?
Well, statutorily, we're required to have a marshal. That's state law. So that position will never be abolished. That will be done simply because we will not want to run afoul of state statute. And we would never place Harold as a deputy. I mean, I'll just tell you real frank. Our office is established. We're looking to firm up the office and so forth. We'll do it with your help and whatever help we can get. But we believe that our marshal's office is an integral part of the town of La Vida. If they need somebody, that's who they talk to. They understand that conversation that even the people who come and travel into the town, they understand that's the way it is. And we'd be foolish to take that kind of relationship and trust that has been developed over 100 years or 140 years in the town of Vida. It's not taken off the books. That's not that old. 147 years. So, but we really be interested in talking to see if we can do some type of joint effort.
Yeah, I think it'd be crazy to get rid of it, because like I said, he's been there all this time, you know him, you trust him.
Yeah.
Conservative, what happens when you returns.
Exactly. And we've got yeah, that's what we
So on this topic, can we, ask you, Sheriff Newman, to meet with representatives of Avita and come back to the commissioners with some kind of at least a thought, not a recommendation? The last item on here is communications. I want one more thing. I know you said City of Walter should have a police department. Starting all over is possible to do that very quickly.
Yeah.
We're gonna need some help. If we had a survey done, and it's gonna cost $5 million just to put it back together, really, it's probably another $1.5 million. That's what KRW told us. KRW, whatever it is.
It would cost that much to set it up. We'll help you set it up. We'll help you put your officers through the training to know people with paperwork.
We need to share like dispatch and jail.
Yeah, and that's what we always, yeah, we do whatever we could.
But I can't see that happen.
Not right away, but eventually, yeah.
That's what it takes for any town.
Yeah.
Because that's where it goes. The city of Walsenburg got a place to be satisfied with a marshal and a person. I think we're to.
You're
gonna need more than.
Yeah, you're
gonna need more than that.
Yeah, you're getting.
Okay, as long as you guys don't leave us up. Okay, anything else on that?
Just a quick question. There was talk of shutting down the jail. Is that passed or is there still?
Yeah, it's pretty much passed.
Yeah, the shock factor worked.
Thank you.
We still, it's an expensive operation. Be wonderful if we can figure out how to partner with other agencies we can get enough people involved to close our jail and lease the prison or purchase the prison. That's gigantic undertaking though. So as it is right now, we're gonna have to continue to live along on that prison that was built in 1986. That is outed itself by at least a decade.
No, I have one question, Bruce. How many repeat offenders do we have in Walsenburg?
90% of
As soon as you call them in, they're backed out on the street, and I believe the officers are still doing the paperwork. So by us taking over a police department, I don't think it's gonna help a thing. I don't know if you understand where I'm coming from.
It's a bigger problem. It's a bigger problem.
Yeah, it's a bigger problem than the sheriff and having officers, because the officers can't even do their job. That's why you can't get officers. All they need to do is talk to your officers, somebody that wants to apply.
Yeah, a lot of the new state laws, like personal use amounts of meth and heroin, is all you can do is write them a ticket. You can't even arrest anyone.
I go for a ride in Walsenburg after midnight, and all I see is backpacks. People I've never seen in the daylight. You know what else I've got?
We recognize that and we understand that there's a further problem, and we did just have a meeting with Phil Weiser to see what we can do to get a handle on it. And he had some really great ideas. Phil Weiser is the Attorney General. The county commissioners met with him, as did Sheriff Newman. And he also mentioned the possibility of some funding coming down to aid and support our county. So we're hopeful that all of these things will fall into place.
I don't know. It's been going on quite a while.
It has.
Yeah.
Almost 8 years.
I don't think changing the police, sheriff, police is gonna help a iota until we get the true problem corrected.
I agree. I think, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, Sheriff, but I think and the other commissioners, the idea of shifting so that the city operates its own police department again is so that you can track your expenses as we track our expenses. And I think that's the big thing, is so everybody understands that we all have the same constraints, and we all need more money to operate law enforcement.
No, but what are we talking? Law enforcement, bottom line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, the last item on the list is communications, and I'm gonna open it up if anybody has anything else that they want to talk about on that. And communications is just, hey, we did these city, county, town meetings years ago, and I don't think we've done one for 6 or 7 or 8 years. Before COVID, for sure. Yeah. So do we want to try to make this a regular item? What we did before was, if there was a topic that affected all 3 entities, we would come together and have a meeting about it. Communication was one back then, and here it is again. So, is that something we want to do on a regular basis?
That'd be in favor of quarterly.
Even send yeah, whatever. But I think it's important. Yeah.
And I want to add one topic to this conversation, and that's solid waste management. There's, we don't have a landfill. I think that it's time to have a discussion, all 3 entities, about, is there value in trying to put together the funding for a landfill? And do we want to have a discussion about a solid waste management district, which would be a public entity that would take care of the trash, the solid waste in the county?
Develop a site locally and have a private.
So actually, I'd love to take you out to City Ranch and show you the bowl that I think would be ideal for about a 70-acre landfill. I think that there's space there. The cost of developing a landfill is somewhere around $8 million.
On the north side.
Yeah.
There's got to be some money in it, because these landfills and the people that follow this around got to be mixed, at least coming out all right. So I wouldn't be against it if we could possibly do it. It's getting so expensive, people are dumping their stuff in arroyos. And I think it's something if we could possibly do, would be worthwhile doing.
Yeah. John, have you had any conversations with contractors who currently do that? That have maybe expressed interest in putting a satellite facility in Orfano County or a facility in Orfano County?
So we now are contracting with Mountain Disposal to operate our waste transportation, but to open and operate a landfill is a serious undertaking. So if we could regionally, so we could probably bring in Colorado City, Aguilar.
Oh, that big?
Yeah.
Of course, you have to do this to it.
The state health department does not want to do a single county landfill anymore. They want them all regional.
What about
Trinidad still has one, right?
Trinidad has one. They've been in violation so long, I don't think that you can check on them anymore.
I think you gotta be a Trinidad resident to even use it now.
Yeah.
Right, I think they changed. That's a viable thing to try to pursue, because that's gonna get worse and worse too, just like police protection. It's all getting worse.
Yeah. It's, as with everything, it's gotta have that. Today, it's gotta have a recycling component to it.
Yeah.
For sure. And I don't know if that component would be south central or southeast central, which does recycle, if they're, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they would want to be a part of that or not, but it would have to be some type of component like that. Because it's just a human crime to be a man's just have a raw landfill without any
the business plan for recycling is, the face changes all the time. And without China purchasing any of the raw recyclables,
Yeah,
the market is just horrible for, especially for plastics right now.
yeah. Yeah, they said that warehouse in Lamar is just stacked to the roof, and that's a monster warehouse. You know, because they can't get rid of their plastics either, and it comes and goes. They can't get rid of cardboard. And then all of a sudden there's a rush on cardboard and plastic is stacked, you know, it's a commodity, so market. But, you know, long story short, you know, without that component, I don't think that, first of all, you wouldn't get any funding. You know, because any funding from the state of Colorado has to have that green component to it now, so you wouldn't get any funding, to build it, but secondly, you probably wouldn't get a whole lot of, wouldn't get this, as much buying to it as you would if you had, that's cost effective.
With Congress bringing back earmark, I think that there is a potential if we could get enough people to sign on to an IGA that says we want a landfill, we could go after congressionally directed spending for a big piece of the budget puzzle there. We could probably do 4 or 6 million directly, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure you could. Probably everything you spoke of tonight or spoken about, that would probably be the one that's most, you get most everybody in alignment to say that's really necessary for this. Because if you go, the closest one is all the way down. I would get up Mahana, and then you gotta go to Midway. Face it, you know, I don't know if you know, Zupans ran the one in Pueblo forever, and I don't know if you've seen their jet, but it's nice. There's money in it.
Is there, so do we need next steps on landfill? Or we take the lead? Gary, you're okay? I'll get with you and, we'll go out and take a look at that site and see if it has, if it's viable for, starting the engineering or at least starting research on.
I think this area would have a big advantage having the land that is kind of hidden and not affecting anybody. That's gonna be a huge advantage over most places.
Right.
So I think it's worth looking at.
Okay.
I was just wanted to say that there would have to be a really strong public outreach and education and kind of listening component to this whole planning process. I just know that in the past, landfills have been difficult from a community point of view. There's been some politics, of course, that gets attached to everything, but I think, you know, going forward from the beginning with a kind of an ear to community would be beneficial, I think, in getting some traction behind this as well. So I think maybe that shouldn't be forgotten, that, you know,
oh yeah,
you shouldn't like come out with plans and say, look, we're going to give you this beautiful new landfill. And then, you know, if you present it as a fait accompli, you may not get so much, you know, buy-in. And I think the buy-in would be really essential at this to get
so
this going.
we did a demand analysis in 2007 for the waste transfer station. And at that point, across the country, the amount of trash that was generated per household went from like 1.3 pounds per person per day in Connecticut to 11 pounds per person per day in Nevada or something like that. So we would have to see who would be bought in and how big the demand would be. If it may not be viable, actually.
Mm.
I think, but you're absolutely right. We have to have public involvement in the entire process. I agree with you.
Yeah, building it in from kind of the ground up helps then avoid people going, oh my goodness, they've done all this and I don't want other counties' trash in my county. And, you know, if you could build it up so that there's an understanding of what this actually is doing and how this is serving and that sort of stuff, that would probably smooth the thing a little bit better.
Well, and with the word for no winds, it's a concern. And so, and I think, just general ignorance in general, I truthfully really don't understand how landfills work. Like, really, how do they work?
They bury everything and hope it runs.
No, yeah, but I mean, it's just like, you know, we all know that in essence, yes, you pull up and drive up and you drop your stuff off, but then what happens?
Yeah.
And so people, I don't understand what happens. And I think educating the public about what happens along every step of the way when you're talking about waste management. It's not just you throwing away your trash, at home in your local dumpster and the truck comes, picks it up. Like, it's a much larger,
When Otero County did their Otero County landfill, the application was 7 4-inch binders. Just the application through the state health department for that. Carmen?
I appreciate the landfill. My question would be, would it take away the regular pickup and people would have to take their trash there? Because there's a lot of people that wouldn't be able to.
I would never see that happening.
No, the other thing that I was thinking, is because a lot of the large items are the ones that end up someplace else because they don't have any place to take them and they don't want to take them to the transfer station. What about bringing in bins? Like Quarterly or something and charging citizens like $1 a month? And you have 1,500 customers and you could bring in a couple of big bins and just have them drop that and then they just tow it away. So maybe that would be something to consider.
obviously that can be part of the conversation about what is a landfill, what is waste management. People need to understand that. And especially when you're thinking about buying new furniture.
Coming from a different area, the way they did it back home in Pennsylvania it was directly implemented into your property tax bill. You didn't see a bill for the rest of the year. Everybody, you paid your property taxes, you were covered. Once a week, the guy came by, recycled bin, blah, 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 blah. I am for this, I am for this, but I personally would like to see the dollar sign up front. I need to know what I'm getting in.
There's a ton of homework that has to happen.
Transparency there is seriously beneficial. Thank you.
Mark?
So just one quick question, only because we're getting back to the issue revolving around this not too long ago. You're talking about developing a landfill. Are you talking about developing some sort of trash service, municipal trash service to accompany that? Or are you just talking about this landfill?
So we don't know the answer to that question. We have had discussions about creating a countywide solid waste landfill. How many mills would it take to run a service and a landfill? We don't know the answer to that yet. So, but it would be house pickup, except for there's some rural areas that there's absolutely no way we could get to with a trash truck.
But you're essentially considering some sort of countywide.
We'll look at that, or we'll look at participation by entity. Okay. So if this wants to be, Walsenburg wants in, it would cost so much for them. Plus, then their residents, they could pass that on to them, same, whoever participates in it.
So,
thank you.
Mark, you're asking about door-to-door service. I don't think we're talking about door-to-door service.
You're not talking about that.
I don't think so.
So
the plan said, keeping talking about it, and that group are a pickup service,
there's two ways to do it. One of them would be for the government to create that district and provide the service. The other one would be to create the landfill and allow private pickups to use the landfill.
Or at the moment, we're talking about the latter, or
we just know that we have a lot of stuff in our Arroyos and rolling around. So we want to see if there's something that we can do. Is there any other topics for discussion?
Just as closing, maybe a good note. Maybe you can tell us about the emergency center and how things are going there.
So I'm gonna ask Carl to do that because he knows the latest.
Sure. So, we are in the final steps of Bishop Design. We've signed off on the design. It's now with AEC West for their review. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll hear back from them if any changes that they want to make. And, we're hoping to be able to start construction this year and finish it, early spring, late winter. But once we have everything sort of ready to roll, that's when we'll lock in both the cost on the county side and we'll lock in the, what we think we're gonna be done by.
Perfect. I'd recommend if anybody, if you haven't been to that building and to schedule a tour with whoever the is available now, because it's gonna be a great site, a great location, perfect for
Command center,
command
separation
center,
center,
emergency
dispatch
center.
offices.
Everything's gonna be there, 911, things are gonna be there, all on your conference center, so it's a.
Where is it?
129 Kansas, the old hospital.
Oh, okay.
The old.
Women's clinic.
You own stuff.
Where the doctors there?
It was at one time, I still have it.
Yeah, all the old buildings having hospitals. Okay.
No, not there.
On Kansas.
Kansas, oh, that old building,
The-
okay,
The two-story, three-story, actually.
the one that is centrally located.
Okay, anybody have anything else? Well, I want to thank you for sharing your time. I mean, it's hour and a half. We ran through it pretty quick, but I think covered a lot of stuff. There's some refreshments, grab one on your way out. And I probably won't see most of you again, so thank you for everything.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you for your service.